This is your no bullshit guide to a happier life. Quick, but not necessarily easy tips to help you to squeeze every last drop of enjoyment out of your business and your life. My name is Helen Calvert. I'm a coach, a business owner and a parent, and I'm so happy to be here with you. I do swear occasionally, as the title suggests, so pop in your headphones if I'm not safe for little ears. Ready to go? Let's do this. This episode is sponsored by the No Bullshit Blend YouTube channel. Did you know that I host a YouTube channel alongside psychotherapist Carol Nesbitt? Carol has a degree in psychology and criminology, and for 2 decades she has been working with people therapeutically. During that time, she has continually gained experience attending courses that inform her practice. She is a qualified transactional analysis therapist and uses a mix of psychological approaches such as mindfulness, acceptance and commitment therapy and CBT. She is also an NLP master practitioner and accredited trainer. In short, Carol knows her shit. She is also a warm, funny, fascinating woman with whom I could talk for hours. Delving into the workings of the human mind with Carol will never get boring for me. So, if you want to know more about the theories and models that coaches and therapists work with to help our clients, the No Bullshit Blend channel is for you. We demystify the things that help our clients and bring you a blend of expertise, lived experience, and no bullshit. Find us on YouTube at No BS Blend or via the link in the show notes for this episode. Hello and welcome to this episode where we are going to be talking about unhealthy relationships. So last time we talked about healthy relationships, now we're going to go into the other side of things. Being around those who don't have a great relationship with themselves and being around those who don't want us to have a great relationship with ourselves. Now, I'm going to have to kind of take a deep breath, Helen, keep it together, because I get angry about this, about what I see, because I work with too many women who are in shitty relationships with narcissistic, emotionally abusive people. Oh, yes. That could be a whole podcast of itself. But, you know, there are deeply unhappy people in this world who refuse to get any support or learn about themselves, and they're making other people's lives a misery. And the thing is, we all have our shit, right? Many of us have past trauma. Then there's things like neurodivergence that can make life challenging. Mental health struggles can make life challenging. Okay, we've all got our shit, but nobody has the right to make your life a constant misery, especially not in your own home. Let's just let that sink in, shall we? No matter what has happened in someone's life, they do not have the right to make your life a constant misery, especially not in your own home. And when we have this good relationship with ourselves that we've been working on all of this series, we're no longer willing to put up with this shit. We see it for what it is. We begin to see that it's unacceptable. This is not okay. We can start to say that in our own heads. We can start to say that out loud. And eventually we can start to say that to the people concerned. So when we have this great relationship with ourselves that we've been working on, do our unhealthy relationships suddenly become healthy? No. Oh, I wish I could tell you they did. No. People who have poor relationships with themselves, they want us to keep our poor relationship with ourselves. So nothing has to change. When we start upholding our boundaries, explaining what is and isn't okay for us, meeting our own needs, these people are going to react badly. Because we are trying to change things and they don't want things to change. Probably through fear, probably because they definitely don't want to have to look at themselves. They don't want to do this work that we've done. They're not going to react well. But doing all this stuff, showing up for ourselves, putting boundaries in place, beginning to show up for our own needs, saying what is and isn't okay, that is all for us. It's not for them. We're not trying to change them. We can't change them. That's under their control. If they want their lives to improve, they've got to do the work. And if that isn't possible, we're most likely going to have to leave them behind. And that is their choice. All that we can control is our own actions and our own relationship with ourselves. Once we move away from that feeling of confusion, because people who are emotionally abusive, they love to keep us confused and off balance. When we start to emerge from that fog, that feeling of, oh, maybe they're right, maybe it is me, maybe it is all my fault. And once we start emerging from that fog, we're powerful. And they're really not going to like that at all. It's important that we have support around us from people who love our new relationship with ourselves. Because, showing up for ourselves, beginning to show up for ourselves to someone who really does not want us to do that, it's not something you can do on your own. And we'll come to that a little bit more later on. But there are other ways that this can go. Not every difficult relationship is an abusive one. Sometimes we have those relationships that are just annoying. It's often a parent, family member, can be a friend. It could be a partner, someone who is always nitpicking, criticising, putting us down, but not because they want us to stay small, but because they're worrying, they're stressing all the time. And it feels like they think that we're less than, but it's because they're scared for us. As I say, this is usually a parent. It's someone who hasn't really got to grips with the fact that we're not 5 anymore. They've probably lived their lives in a lot of fear, not really ever being particularly big, taking up much space, and they're very scared for us. They're scared about what will happen if we do just stand up and say, this is who I am, this is how I want to live, this is my boundaries. That terrifies them, and it's all tangled up and misguided, but it's coming from a place of love. They're worried for us, and it can be so annoying, and we can get annoyed, and round it goes. But actually, with these types of relationships, when we start showing them that we've got this, when we start putting some boundaries in place, maybe gently at first, but this is okay, I've got this, I know what I'm doing, just trust me, I'm happy, I'm okay, they can stop worrying. In their very unhelpful way, they're trying to keep us safe. And maybe in some ways over the years, we've given them the message that we don't really have our own backs. So they worry more, and it comes out in really unhelpful ways. Well, now we do have our own back. We've got a good relationship with ourselves now. We'll tell them what is okay and what's not okay. And, it might be that you find they calm down a little bit, because actually this whole time they've just been hanging on to this feeling that somehow they have to look after us, and that's very stressful. No, they don't. We've got it under control. Thanks. They may not come around. Things may not change. People do love us to stay in the place that we live in their story. And that's fine. That's their story. They own that story. We don't have to accept our role in it, though. And if they don't want to change our role in their story, we can just remove ourselves from it and let them tell it by themselves without our input. And then what about relationships that are, healthy, they're good relationships, but they're just off balance? This is something I see a lot as well. I work mainly with women, not exclusively. I do work with men as well. And I think this goes across the genders, to be honest. But I see so many women who never get any time to themselves. And both partners are stressed and no one's happy and nobody's really getting what they need. And is the answer to just demand what you need and, bollocks to them? No. The answer is to look at what you both need. And this is something that I have worked on with a few of my clients. And it's when you're calm, this is not something to do in the middle of a row. When you're calm, potentially out for a walk or at a time when you've got some time together, you're not both ridiculously tired, it's not something to do just before bedtime. But when you're calm, sit down together and each of you list out your needs. Now, this is a wider conversation. We've discussed needs before. You can go back to other episodes where I've talked about needs and identifying our needs. But we need a list of what you both need, your needs and their needs, listed out without judgment. This is not the time to be arguing over them or discussing which are reasonable or unreasonable. We just need 2 lists. Get it all out there, right? No judgment. And then you sit down together and you figure it out. So you will see needs that intersect really well. So like you need some peace and quiet by yourself and they need to go out for a run. Well, those 2 things fit together beautifully, don't they? Obviously not if you've got children, yeah, okay. But if there was just 2 of you, those would fit together beautifully. You will see needs that fit together. You will also then see needs that seem mutually exclusive. And how on earth are we going to figure that out? And that's when we have to get creative. Because life is just way too short for everyone to be miserable. We haven't had a mindset block alert for a little while, so here's one for this episode. Whatever is the barrier to everyone's needs being met, that is the thing you need to work on. Do you need to reach out for help or support? If that is a problem, that is your mindset block to work on, that story that you can't reach out to people. Do you need to accept that you can't actually do everything and you don't have to? That is your mindset block to work on. Do you worry that if your family copes without you, if you go off and have some time, you won't be needed or have a role in their lives anymore? That's a mindset block to work on, isn't it? To meet everyone's needs, would some commitments have to be dropped? And that causes issues, or that bumps up against your story of how to be a good wife, mother, woman, human. That's your mindset block to work on. Because when we all have our needs met, God, do our relationships become healthier. So let's work on the crap that's getting in the way of that, shall we? So you're going to have 3 types of relationship in your life. You're probably going to have many types of relationship in your life, but we've kind of, in our little whistle stop tour that we always do, a little 15-minute tour, we've looked at 3 different types. So we have the abusive, emotionally, if not physically. This is where you are constantly off balance. You are always in the wrong. You are shouted at in your own home. There is no interest shown or acceptance for your needs. Your needs sometimes maybe are mocked. You're told that you're wrong when you have big emotions, and there's resistance to you having any agency or power or even any self-respect. Then you've got the annoying, where there's nitpicking, criticism, questioning, worrying, suggesting that you're less than you are, people trying to rescue you all the time, and it all feels very patronising and as though you're not really seen. And then there's just the overwhelmed relationship, where there's a good relationship under there, but right now there's just too much stress in your lives to enable you to dig it out. A better relationship with yourself is going to enable you to recognise which is which and to understand how to move forward in each situation. So looking at the abusive, you can't do it alone, and it's dangerous to try and get yourself out of this alone. You know, we do not have time here to discuss this fully. Do not try to do it alone. Reach out for help and support. There are numerous organisations. If you have good friends that you trust and who see you for who you are, there's me. I am always here to hear from people who need to dig themselves out from an abusive relationship. That shit is not okay. And of course, there is therapy, counselling, there's other coaches, there are many people you can reach out to. Please don't try and do it alone. With the annoying relationships, it's time to put your boundaries in place and show them that you've got you. And then give them a bit of time. See their fears as fears rather than a criticism of you. They've got stuff they need to work on themselves. They have a lot of fears. It's not really about you. If you show them that you've got it under control, they may well calm down a little bit. And then the overwhelmed relationships, just work on each other's stories so you can overcome the blocks to everyone's needs being met. Be curious, ask questions rather than criticizing, find out more, get creative, think about solutions, stay calm, think about creative solutions, take your time. Don't try and do this when you're in the middle of a row. Now, as I say, my goodness, that's a whistle-stop tour. I mean, there's so much more we could say about this. But it's some things to think about, some things to consider. If you'd like to work on any of these things with me, you can work with me one-to-one. I work with people all around the world. I'm very happy to work online, so you don't have to be local to me. Although if you are in South Manchester, we can meet up. Woohoo! Head to the show notes to find out more about working with me, or head to my website, which is clear-day.co.uk. So that's clear, CLEAR-DAY day.co.uk. And until next time, please be excessively kind to yourselves because you deserve it. And let's move forwards and just squeeze every last drop of enjoyment out of this life. Speak to you next time. Thank you so much for listening. Did you know that my first book is now available to purchase online? Check out the show notes for details of how to get your hands on a copy. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd be so grateful if you could leave me a review, and don't forget to subscribe so you know when new episodes are up. If you would like to work with me one-to-one or follow more of my content, you can find out how in the show notes. See you next time.